This is INXS.
You know your voice is a love song. It's a cat from the bells. There's no ice in your love. Fucking look twice, 'cause you move so.
INXS, when you just can't get enough.
Shabooh Shoobah, the new album from INXS on Atco Cassettes and Records.
My name's Brian. If it's your first time here, thanks for tuning in. And if you're coming back, great to see you again. Anyway, this is what we're talking about today. It's INXS's third album, and it's called Shabooh Shoobah. And what do we have on the cover? I believe this is Michael Hutchence. I believe that's a mask, and I believe that's a whippet. And I can't believe this sort of font, the color contrast up here. It's going to get worse. Trust me on that. But anyway, their third album, it came out in 1982. This was an original pressing of the two pressings that they made. And this came out on WEA in Australia and went all the way to number 5, and it went to 52 in America. And I think this might have been their first album that they released internationally as well. Anyway, we've got that. So there's the cover. Back cover is even more nebulous and esoteric, isn't it? Still got that gold on black font. And I don't know what this is. It's probably the whippet again, I would assume. As we get inside the album, and now look at those pictures of the guys. Oh yeah, and of course there are lyrics in there. They're really effective too. Can you read those? No, of course you can't. And on the back is Roman gods with their little toga or their towels resting over them, or they're just a little bit sleepy bye-byes, that sort of thing. Anyway, how do we get back into Shabooh Shoobah? Well, I used to have this copy back in the 80s, this record back in the 80s, and it was everywhere. It was ubiquitous and every other synonym for everywhere. But let me tell you, you sort of couldn't go to a party without hearing it when it first came out, and it was good music. I think I was a bit more of a fan of the first album, particularly INXS, the self-titled, and then Underneath the Colours, which came out second. But the third album certainly was the big one and had the big hit. So I was having a bit of a hankering for listening to some INXS, because the only album that I had of theirs, because I gave them all away back in the day, was this compilation. And I might talk a bit about that towards the end. INXSIVE. Really great compilation. Anyway, so I was thinking, which one do I want? So I looked up my local record shop, and they did have a copy, reasonably priced, I would say, close to it, of Shabooh Shoobah. And I thought, that will do me. That will do me anyway. So as we look at the front cover, I'm all over the place. We've got a bit of, ring wear and stuff like that. I mean, this album has been around. It's 43 years old, 44 years old, 44 years old. Anyway, so I put up with that because the vinyl looked absolutely clean. And when I took it home, put it on the turntable, it was all snap, crackle, and pop, bacon and eggs, whatever you want to call it. And there was hazing on the album. I haven't shown you the album itself yet, have I? There was hazing on there. So let's see if we can, we might look at that label there. Anyway, I don't know if we can see any of the hazing there. More so we're looking at the reflection from outside, aren't we? But anyway, there was hazing on there. So I was thinking, oh, damn this, damn it, I hate it. Anyway, so I got out the old squirter record cleaner, gave it a real soaking, and for one of the first of many times, it actually came up trumps, and now it's absolutely wonderful to listen to. Now, Mark Opitz, who produced everyone in that sort of period, including Cold Chisel, one of the great Australian bands, he was brought on board to produce this one. I think he produced the opening song, The One Thing, and then they both band and producer agreed that maybe they had something, they were going to go for the whole album. And it good that they did, because this was the first major commercial success that they had. So we had the classic lineup together, and it's amazing when you think of three brothers, three other guys, I mean a band of brothers, that they would stay together for so long with so little acrimony, I would suggest. And it's the classic lineup of Michael Hutchence on vocals. We have Jon Farriss on drums. Tim Farriss is the guitar player. Andrew Farriss is the keyboard player, the synth player. Kirk Pengilly on guitars and sax. And then who am I missing here? Garry Gary Beers. Of course, Garry Gary. What a wonderful name for a rock god. Anyway, and he's playing some wonderful bass. Now, I really dig this album. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but you know what? It's a bridge. It's a bridge between that new wave and post-punk music of the first two albums, which is going to take us into the next album, which is The Swing, which is getting more of that, Nile Rodgers funk about it, rock funk sort of thing. And so it's very valuable to see the bridge between those two styles, because as I've said in the past, this side might be great and this side might be great as well, but unless you have a bridge to put them together, we're never going to get to this side. Does that make sense? And so the bridge is kind of important. And this is the bridge, of course, to rock and superstardom all around the world. So let's give it a shot, eh? Let's get into Shabooh Shoobah. First track on the album is the first single as well, and it's called The One Thing. And this cracked the USA Top 30. And I love Jon's rototoms throughout this, and the snare drum cracks superbly as well. And the vocal is fantastic. Right out of the gate, we've got a great vocal, we've got a great rock sound. The verse is really cool, but the chorus, I think, could be a little bit bigger. And this is going to underpin something I'm going to mention in this video, is that I think this song should have been moved away from the first song on the album and swapped with something else. I'm going to talk about that at the end if you're interested in hanging around for that. The synth line is really cute and has a sort of David Bowie China Girl vibe about it. And that repetition of "it's the one thing" towards the end is really soothing. Almost has a soporific effect. It's not drowsy, but it has a lullaby sort of feel to it as well. I know that may be a stupid thing to say, but you know, I think the idea's got some legs. Anyway, let's have a listen to a bit from The One Thing.
Well, you know just what to do to me, the way you move, soft and slippery, cut the knot just like a razor, ready to top, and that's the
The third single taken from the album is up next, and it's called To Look at You, and it's a personal favorite. I really love Jon's drumming here, or whatever it is. I love that. I love that sound. It's really cool. I think he's underrated as a player, and then it's joined by Andrew, I think it is, on that mournful, wistful, somber keyboard note, which I'm not going to hum for you right now. And then Michael's vocals come in all urgent but smooth and sultry and all in one package. It's absolutely brilliant. And as they build through the verse and up to the chorus, what we have is this synth bass line introduced. And I'm thinking, what's Garry Gary doing here? Has he gone off for the beers? Not true. But listening closely, you hear him playing this funky little bass line underneath, which is really cool. And talk about sacrificing yourself for the band to sort of go back in the mix because of that. And then we have a wonderful sort of funky, scratchy guitar line. We've got those overdriven guitars, and it's giving a real feeling and a real foreshadowing of the riff machine that these boys would become in the future. The song is quite perfect, I think, actually, and that includes the really interesting solo, which features a lot of gimmickry or wizardry, if you like, but a lot of all these weird synthesizer sounds, which work beautifully to sort of build us up to the end. It's really powerful and it's really effective, and it's a great song. To Look at You.
to look at you and never speak. It's so good for me tonight to look at you and never speak. It's so good for me tonight. What is the name to call for a different kind of girl who knows the feelings but never the words?
Now here comes an interesting song, and it's called Spy of Love. And the spies and the detectives have been out in order to answer one of life's most perplexing existential questions. And the question is, what the hell's a Shabooh Shoobah? I mean, many people have postulated over the years that perhaps it's what happens when a ghost and a sheep interact, when going Shabooh Shoobah. I don't know. Could be, maybe not. But the answer is all actually on this track. And the track is called Spy of Love. And listen, apparently what happened was Tim was either trying to get this rhythm or remember the rhythm. And so he went like this. Shabooh Shoobah, Shabooh Shoobah, with the elephants. Shabooh Shoobah. Get those elephants out of here quickly. Turn off. Thank you very much. Anyway, with these sort of sound effects which start the song, the big question is, where the hell are we going with this? It's discombobulating, but it's so fine as well. Great vocal by Michael, which is very reminiscent of the pop post-punk aesthetic of Do Re Mi. I did a video on their album. What was it called? Domestic Harmony. I'll put the link down below. It'd be worth having a listen to. And the lead break in here has a real element of Robert Fripp in terms of, like, we've got the angular feel, but there's that cold austerity with no reverb on it as well. Really tasty sort of work. I'm not a huge fan of the chorus, but then it's a sing-along. But is it a chorus? Or is it a verse? Or is it both? Let's check out a little bit of Spy of Love. The second to last song on side A is called Soul, S-O-U-L, Mistake. And it's the kind of song that we've heard hundreds of times before, I think you'll agree. But it acts as more than just filler, because they have this verse feel and then they go to a major style chorus, and it's one of those big uplifting choruses they've got. I'm not sure whether it's a chorus or a bridge, but still, it's like they've said, if they're going to stay together, or Chris Murphy, their new manager, might have said, you know, boys, if you want to stay together and you want to crack this thing, then you're going to have to make a change. But we don't change. You got to change. Don't change. No, you got to change. You got to do things a bit differently. We're going to go through it. We're going to make some money. And you know what you have to do? You got to get that rock funk groove going. You get those guitars. It's a little bit meaner, a little bit nastier. We're going to start doing it right now. And that's kind of what they do. The change isn't really prominent here, but it is growing, and it's sort of like electric cars versus petrol-driven cars, I suppose. Eventually, one side becomes more dominant than the others, and the drums and the synths are the real stars here. And that takes us up to the final song on side one, and it is called Here Comes. Always been interested about this. So I remember this one, having not heard the album for about 30 years. It's got this gorgeous guitar arpeggio that starts us off. Doesn't have much more to do with that in the song, although it does appear in the background a bit, but it welcomes the song in beautifully. Now, I don't know why I remember this so well, because I don't think the song's that amazing, but maybe it was Here Comes. Well, what's coming? I don't know, it must be somewhere in the lyrics. It doesn't really pack that much of a punch from a song ending side one going into side two, but it's interesting that it has a bridge to a verse, but it never seems to get to the chorus here. Maybe that's why I like it. And what about those lyrics? Maybe there was the clue in those lyrics, and I love this line in particular. Freedom is intoxicating. It's a lizard in your hand. Wow. Freedom is intoxicating. It's a lizard in your hand. I had a lizard in my house the other day. Didn't know what to do with it. Thankfully, it's gone. That's probably more than you needed to know. And what you do need to know is what we're going to look at on side two. Black and White opens the second side, and this is a favorite song of mine. I first came into contact with this, I think, before the album was released, and INXS were doing a gig down at Wanda Beach, which was televised on our government television station, and Midnight Oil were headlining, and I think INXS was second, and then Machinations were third, and they played Black and White, and it was just exploded on the beach. I think it was a wet day that day. It was so good, and the band was sweating. It was fantastic. And as I say, I thought it was absolutely stunning. And then I think something happened in the studio to it. It sort of drained a bit of the life and energy out of it. Well, you know, it's interesting that it starts with a chorus, then goes to a verse, bridge, and then chorus again. And I think that's kind of a cool way to look at things here. And another synthesizer sort of sound effect instrumental section in the middle was really good, is really good as well. I loved it at Wanda Beach and seeing it on that show. It was different as the band was sort of running around and bopping and jiving on stage. All these sounds were just going berserk all the way through the air, and it was kind of cool. So let's check out a little bit from Black and White.
This is only just
I got thrown a bit of a curve at the start of the next song called Golden Playpen because there were these jingle jangle guitars, and immediately I'm thinking, well, what am I listening to? Is this something happened to the pressing of this album? And what's the influence here? I'm not too sure. And then the lyrics as well, sort of a quirky. Quirky's a really good word for them. Here's an example. I'm drunk, can't see my glass, not worried, chair dancing man. Okay. Anyway, this song definitely has a whiff of filler or a whiffler about it. And then a saxophone comes in, which is, to me, the sign that a band's giving up, which is not really fair considering how important the sax sound. Have you ever noticed, because the world's going crazy. Every time I write the word sax, it autocorrects to sex. Anyway, it's not fair to say that about Kirk, the saxophone, should I say, because it played such a major role in the band's upcoming success. And you know what? Kirk's a really cool guy. But I do think Golden Playpen definitely has a real whiffler feel about it. And that then leads us into the next song, which is called Jan's Song. And immediately I'm thinking, well, who is Jan? And I wonder whether she's an Indigenous leader or an activist, a protester here. And that's coming from the lyrics. There's Jan calling from the rooftops. She says she wants the world to hear her people need their basic rights. Now, this is a jaunty mid-tempo song that worships at the altar of Tears for Fears, or the other way around. Wonder how you feel about that, INXS and Tears for Fears. What's the story going on there? What's the comparison? Well, all I can tell you is I think INXS came out first. Anyway, we got more saxophone coming, but Kirk's a great guy. And I wonder whether that's why I consider this song and the last one, the Golden Playpen, a bit like whifflers. Now, is it just that I don't appreciate sax that makes it so? It probably is. I wonder if you like the sax and you love the song because of the sax. I'd love to hear your voice in the comments. That would be great. I'd be very interested to find out. But the other thing is, too, I get this feeling that maybe Michael's mailing his vocals in a little on this one. Now, that's certainly not the case in the next song, which is Old World, New World. In fact, Michael is snarling, he's smouldering, he's packing a bit of attitude here. So what do we got? We've got the funk bass, the funk syncopation of the drums, we've got the saxophone line, we've got the dirty guitar, we've got the smouldering lead singer, we've got the synth in the background, check. And you know what? What we have is the bridge being built, the blueprint being built for the future. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And I love that middle bridge solo section where Michael's voice is sort of floating around and there's lots of synthesizer creating a drifting and atmospheric type of feel and a certain sense of weightlessness. I really dig this section, and then the song fades out superbly. Beautiful, leading us into the next song, which is called Don't Change. And now, when I say don't change, this is the first thing I want to do, is I want to put Dirt Change. I want to put Don't Change as the first song on the album, and I want to put the one thong. I want to put Dirt Change at the start and the one thong at the back. Everybody loves a one thong, don't they? Whether you've got one thong and it's like a mankini, or whether you just got one thong and you're hobbling on the other, it doesn't really matter. One thong, Dirt Change, and here we are. So I want to put Don't Change as the first song on the album and the One Thing as the last song on the album. And you know what? I'm going to give that advice to the band the next time they call me up asking for a bit of advice. Anyways, the second single was called Don't Change. It's the one that does take us out on this album. And the irony is there because for them to make that commercial breakthrough, they needed to change, and change they did, because what they learned here on this song is they learned how to rock. I mean, this is pure. This is a rock song with a bit of funk, bit of pop, but it's really cool. We've got the pounding drums. We've got the steady bass line. The synths are in there. We've got the dirty, gnarly guitars now. And we've got a killer vocal and a killer set of lyrics and a killer chorus. So I haven't really spoken about Mark Opitz's less is more production style here, and it serves the band beautifully. It's able to cherry pick the instruments which should be going into the song at the right time rather than cluttering up everything too much, but it also allows everybody the opportunity to shine and serve the song most importantly as well. And they get to demonstrate, they get to display that they are a well-drilled beast of a band, which would also serve them well on the live circuit as well. You know, Shabooh Shoobah might be my favorite INXS album because what it does, it's the last of something old and it's the start of something new. I think that's really appropriate. So let me give you my top 5 INXS songs because I know you've all been dying to hear what I came up with. And number 5, I went with I Need You Tonight. What a great song. What a brilliant vocal. And that is an example of that stripped back wonderment. It's so cool, funky and sexy or saxy at the same time. Number 4 is their first single, I think, which is called Just Keep Walking off the first album. This is post-punk funk groove. I love it. The whole thing, the chanting, clever words, a smooth tongue talking, shove it, brother, just keep walking. What a great song that is. Number 3 is off this album. Could you pick it? It's To Look At You. It's pretty close to perfect. Dang it. It is pretty close to perfect. I really struggle with 1 and 2 in which order they're at. So I'm going to go out there and say number 2 is Stay Young, the first single off their previous album, Underneath the Colours. And number 1 is the title track of Underneath the Colours, called Underneath the Colours. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Now, just before I go, a couple of words on this compilation album, INXSIVE, which I showed a little bit earlier and talked about, 1980 to 1982. There they are, looking a bit like the Wiggles on the front cover there, if you know who the Wiggles are. It's a really attractive package, and I believe it is out on the deluxe label. There we go. But what it does is it puts all the singles from the first 2 albums and the non-album singles as well, plus some choice cuts off the first 2 albums, and it puts them all together. And it really is a fantastic compilation. So if you don't want the first and the second albums, I encourage you to have a look for INXSIVE. It's getting a little bit more expensive in Australia now, but I think you can still get it for something that's a really a reasonable price. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're doing really well. And until next time, bye now.